Hi, I'm Paige Shipley, here to talk about the 3 Wishes beaded bag. Um, Beading is a really fun way to spice up your knitting a little bit, and it's deceptively easy. I use it a lot. The pattern we're going to be talking about today, which was designed for the Winter Woolly Retreat, is this. It's just a fun little bag with some beaded flowers on it. Beading is really fun, and you can add it to just about anything. Here's a little Christmas tree ornament I did last year, so those are beads just added at random. And it's also really great to add some little accents to your lace. Not sure if you can see the clear beads. This is a shawl I did a long time ago, but it just has little beaded accents that just pick up the sun nicely. And it's really easy to add beads with a crochet hook as you go. You can also pre-string all your beads. If you're doing something like our flower chart where the beads might not be going on the same order, that's kind of tricky. So we're just going to do a really quick lesson today on how to add beads with a crochet hook. First, let's talk about the beads. They need to be the right size for the yarn, and you need to have a hook that works for the beads. So I'm using fingering weight yarn or sock weight yarn, and I'm using size 6 beads. These are just from Michaels or Joann Fabrics. Of course, you can find them in some really awesome bead shops. Fire Mountain Gems is a great source as well. What size 6 means is that there are 6 beads per inch if you put them end to end. And while that isn't necessarily important, what is important and that you need to look out for is what the inside of the bead looks like, because the inside of the bead needs to be big enough to go over a crochet hook, and you're going to need a really small crochet hook. This is a size 12. I believe it's 0.75 millimeters. So the bead goes on the crochet hook, and then you pick up a stitch on your knitting and just take that stitch and put it on the crochet hook. And then you'll want a little bit of tension for this so your stitch doesn't fall off the hook. But you just take that bead and you pull it down over the stitch, you put it back on the needle, and then you knit it. Boom, you have a bead. How easy was that? So in the 3 Wishes pattern that we're doing for the retreat, again, if you aren't attending the retreat and don't have that pattern, that's fine. I hope that lesson was helpful anyway. We are going to be following a chart. Feel free to make it your own. Add different colored flowers, different colored petals, add more flowers, fewer flowers, add a sun in the corner, whatever you want to do. Just have fun with it. But we're reading it like we are every other knitting chart. So you start at the bottom right and then work your way across the row, and that's where you add your beads. So you'll count, so there's 6 plain, or 6 with no beads, then a green bead, and then however many that is. I'm looking through the back, so it's not as, can't quite see it, but anyhow, so reading charts, all knitting charts, is the opposite of reading. So start at the bottom right and work your way up. So work your way this way, then work your way up. Opposite of reading. Okay. One more note about the about bead selection is you want your beads to be smooth. You're putting this on yarn, so that little hole has to be smooth. If you feel the edges of the bead and there's any sharpness to it, that's eventually going to cut through your yarn and your knitting will start coming apart where the bead was. So make sure your beads are smooth in your fingers. Like the Swarovski crystals are beautiful, and they will just slice right through your knitting. So that is a lesson learned the hard way that I'm trying to spare you from. So once again, if you want to add a bead, if you're ready to add a bead, and so bead on the hook, pick up a stitch, slide the bead over it, little tension, put the stitch back on the left needle, and then knit it like a normal stitch. All right, boom. How easy was that? Okay, shoot me a message if you have any questions about that. Happy crafting.